So, are you a FileMaker beginner that want to learn FileMaker but don't know where to start? This is the right place for you. In this tutorial, I'm going to walk you through the essential basics of FileMaker by creating this one-page simple database. Hey, what is up everybody? So, in this FileMaker Beginner Basics tutorial, I'm going to guide you through the essential basics of FileMaker by creating this simple one-page contact database. So this database is fairly straightforward. So on the left here, you have a list of people that you can click on to select onto that person. And on the right here, you can type in his information. For example, I can type in my name, my phone number. I can select my gender with a drop-down value list. I can type in my age, and then I can also type in some notes in here. So this is a very simple database, but by going through that process, you're going to learn some of the most essential basics that we are going to cover. So first, let's get into the outline of this tutorial. So this tutorial is going to be split into 3 sections. The first section is going to be about the absolute basics of FileMaker. Now, first I'm going to explain to you the 4 core elements of what FileMaker is made of, and then I'm going to show you inside the software how you can create each of these elements. And on the second part, we are going to work with multiple records, and I'm going to show you how you can set up the layout to show multiple records at the same time, and then also teach you how to import Excel data into the database. And then we are also going to go through some find and sort technique so that you can easily retrieve and find data within your database. And lastly, I would consider this a little bit of extra. We're going to do a very brief dive into relationships, relational database in general. And then I'm also going to teach you how to use an add-on table and also using a portal within this section. So that's the overall outline of this tutorial. Now let's get to the main part. So every FileMaker database is made out of 4 elements: the file, the table, the layout, and the objects. Now these 4 elements kind of works together in like a hierarchy structure. So one file can have multiple tables, one table can have multiple layout, one layout can have multiple objects, and table will always belong to a file, layout will always belong to a table, and then object will always belong to a layout. Now I'm going to show a little bit more elaborate example. So let's start with file. So for example, you might be working for a company and they might have a database file that's called company.fmp12. And then they might have multiple tables within it. So for example, a product table to store all the product catalog and stuff, a customer table to store all the customer contact, and also maybe a sales table to store all the transaction information. And so one file can have multiple tables. Moving on, we talk about layout. So inside this customer table, even though they may have the same set of data shared inside this customer table, we can present these data in different layouts or user interface. So for example, this customer table, I can present the customer information in like a field like this with a big picture, some detail, and showing the map of the location of that customer. Or maybe I can also present all the customer in like a list view format that shows multiple customer at the same time. They are all coming from the same data set, from the table, and you can present one table in different layout. So one table can be displayed in multiple different layouts. And moving on to object. Now object is basically everything within the layout. So the field here that I can type things, that I can click onto, or the buttons here, or the pictures here, basically everything within the layout is an object. And together, all 4 of these elements, it's what make up of your FileMaker database. And inside this tutorial, the first part, I'm going to show you how you can create each of these 4 elements inside the FileMaker software. And before we get into the software, just know that we'll be using some sample files and sample data within this tutorial. You can download the exercise file in the link in the description down below. It will help you to follow along this tutorial much better. So for our next step, let's get into the software itself. We're going to start by learning how to create the file. So click onto your software again, and let me just close this and minimize this. To create a new file, just click onto File, Create New, and select the blank option in here. And click Create. We are going to save this on our desktop, and let's name it Testing Database without the spacebar. Let's click Save. And you will notice right away that on the right side of our screen, our file has been created. So the next step to do is to create the table. Now, creating a table is not difficult. So for example, right now, after I create the file, it automatically pops up this Manage Database place for me to create a table and also the fields within it. But I don't want to do that just yet. I want to show you how to get inside this Manage Database by yourself without the help of FileMaker. Click Cancel to go back out. And then we are going to click on File, Manage Database. So this is the route of how you can get into that dialog again to create your table. And then moving on, I'm just going to drag this a little bit, and we are going to click onto the Table tab. You will notice in here that FileMaker has already created one table for us using our file name. And we don't want to do that. We want to create our own. So I'm going to just type here, contact, and click Create. And now that I created my table, I want to create some fields within the table for me to store data. So if I just quickly look back into my sample file here, I have a name field, I have a phone field, gender field, age field, and also a picture. Now this right side, I'll get into it a little bit later. So minimize this, go back to File, Manage, Database, and click into Contact again. You will notice that FileMaker again has created some default field for us. For now, don't worry about them, just leave them there and don't delete it because we'll be using it later. And we're going to create the fields within our sample layout. So to create a field, just type in here the field name and then select the type of field it is. So there's a lot of different options like text, number, date, time, and other stuff. So name is obviously a text field, and I also have a phone number, and phone number is better to be make as a text field. I might be explaining that in a later video. And also I have a gender field, and then also have an age field, and age field is a number. Click Create. And then lastly, I also have a picture, so I'm just going to say photo. And for the type, I want to choose a container. So storing photos or storing file inside the FileMaker database, we will need a user field, and that field needs to be a type container for us to place a file or a photo inside the database. So once I have all these created, let's just click onto OK. So now that we have a file and our table created, the next step is to create the layout. To look at all your existing layout, go to File, Manage, Layout. So that route is the route of how you can go to this dialog. So basically most of the important things inside FileMaker can be accessed by Manage, File, Manage, and then whatever here. So this time is a File, Manage, Layout. And so again, you will notice that FileMaker is pretty smart, and it by default already created two layouts for us using the tables that we have. So we have a testing database layout, and we have a contact layout. So to in this case, we don't want to create our own layout. So let's click onto New in here, and then we are going to type our layout name. So maybe we'll name this layout, let's call it Contact Sample. And then there are a few things we need to do. So first, we need to type in the name, and then we need to select it so that it shows record from the contact table. Remember earlier in the PowerPoint that I showed you that each layout will belongs to a table. So right now I'm saying that this new layout I want it to belongs to the contact table. So this layout is for computer screen, and I'm going to choose the form in here. Click on to finish, and we now have a layout created on the back. So you can click here, click open, and we are now onto this layout. So let me just adjust the size of this screen. So you'll notice that we are currently inside our contact sample layout. You can see it in here, and you can easily access other layout. But since now everything is empty because we have done nothing on these layout just yet. So the first thing I want to do is to place objects inside this layout. To do that, you can use this status toolbar, open the left side panel, and if you don't see this top toolbar here, you can go to View, Status Toolbar to get this to show up again. And on the left panel here, we have something called a field picker. So you'll notice in here that the contact table here, it also displays the fields that we just created. And to put these fields into the table, just click here, and then drag the field into the table. And then drag out the phone, and then drag out the gender, and then the age. And finally, we can also drag out the photo here. Now, photo is pretty self-explanatory, so let's delete the label, make it a more square size looking. And then that's basically it. So before I move on any further, I want to explain to you something called mode. So if I click onto view right now, you'll notice that we are currently in the layout mode. I want you to focus on the layout mode and also the browse mode. So basically, the layout mode is the developer mode, where you'll be changing things inside your layout, like dragging the fields inside here, dragging the name, dragging the phone and everything, and doing scripts and all that. And the browse mode is basically the user mode, where you'll be entering data into your database. So let's just try and do that. Click on the view, browse mode, and let's try using this simple database. So let's create a new record by clicking on the button here, new record. You'll notice that it shows here as 1. That means we now have 1 record. So I'm just going to type in my name here, type in the fake phone, saying that I'm a male and also I'm 28. And then let's drag my photo in here. So open the tutorial sample file, and I've included 4 very simple photo here. And to create another record, just click on new record. And then let's just again do something here, drag, and then move it like this. So let's do a fast forward. So right now I have created a total of 3 records in here, and I can navigate between these records by clicking the arrow button here. And if I want to delete one of the records, I just click into them, and on the top there should be a delete record button, and if I delete it, I just click delete here to confirm, but I don't want to do that now, so just click cancel. So that's basically it. We have quickly gone through how you can create a table, a layout, a file, and also creating the objects. And so that's like the very simple basics. And now, since we know how to put objects inside the layout, we're going to move on a little bit further. We're going to learn about how you can modify an object after you create it. So let's go back to our developer mode, aka layout mode. View, layout mode here. Click here, we are back to this page. So let me just close the left side panel a little bit. Click here, and I'm going to open the right side panel. Now this panel is called the inspector panel. And the use of this inspector panel is that I can click onto one of the objects within the layout and then change the property within it. And there are 4 main tabs within this inspector panel. First, here is the position. and this is a panel that affects the size and also the position of the object. So if I click on the photo and then maybe change the width to 300 and click enter, then it becomes wider. If I change the right here to 500, it moves a little bit to the right. So that's the first tab is about position and size. Now this second tab here is the style. It's a little bit complicated, so I suggest you to ignore this for now. The third tab here is about the appearance. So you can change the look of the objects you choose by clicking onto the object. And for example, I can change the feel of this object to a blue color. And I can also change this to a green color. I can also change, for example, I want the text for phone to be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to click on the third tab, scroll down a little bit, click onto the text here to make the size of the phone a little bit bigger. But I don't really want it because it looks pretty ugly. So let's just change it back to 12 size. And then click this, shift click the other one, change the background back to white for better beauty. And then you can also change the whole layout parts. So these are the layout section here, the header, the body, the footer in here. You can change the whole section here like this by clicking to the header, click onto this here, and then selecting the fill color to change it into, let's do a blue color here. So it's just a very handy tool that you can select an object within the layout and then change the appearance. Now let's get to the fourth tab. The fourth tab is about changing data, or in my term is changing the behavior. What do I mean by that? So let's go to browse mode first to explain further. So I'm currently using this database, and then I have the gender here. If I were to create a new record, I will have to do this, type in the name and then phone, and then I'm going to type in male in here. But that doesn't really make sense because I don't really have to type in the word male because I know the choice is either going to be male or female. So one of the behavior that I can change is to make this a drop-down menu. So go to View, Layout Mode again to become the developer mode. Click onto Gender, click onto the fourth tab. We can choose in here something called Control Style. And we can choose for it to be a drop-down list. And then for a drop-down list, we need to create some value for it to use. So values from, click onto this pencil icon here and click onto new. And we're going to create a new value list called gender. And we only have two values here. So male, female. You can separate two values by clicking an enter key between each of the value and click OK. Click OK again. And then I also want to take include arrow to show and hide. So this little arrow here, make this maybe a little bit smaller and click onto View, Browse Mode, and let's try that again. And now I can easily select from a value list if it's a male or a female. So that's super handy because later on there's a lot more other behaviors that you can change. And just to show you a little bit more, in the case of gender, I don't think drop-down list is super appropriate. Let's do radio button instead. So basically, radio button is like a thing that shows all the options inside your value list, and he's either a male or a female. So it's a little bit easier for people to enter data like this. And so that's basically for section 1. We have covered some of the basics in how you can create a FileMaker database and how you can create layouts, create tables, and create objects within the layout and stuff like that. So for next stage, let's look at our final product again. So click onto here, you will notice that on the left side of this whole thing, we have a list that we can choose from to select the current record. And then you can look in here, it's a little bit familiar because that's the part that we just created, like a few basic fields inside your layout. And so the next thing we want to do is to create this left side portal thing here. And to do that, let's go to View, layout mode, and then maybe give this thing a little bit more space. Move it to here, and then move this to here. Shrink the size of this a little bit. And what we're going to do now is to go to the status toolbar on top, click here. This is the portal icon. So we're going to create a new portal in here. So for this portal, I want to select where this portal shows as a record from. So in our case, I want to show the portal with the current table, the contact table. Click here and click OK. And it asks me what fields do I want to be showing up. So maybe let's just do a name, gender, and age for now. Click OK. Now you'll notice in here that we have a little weird thing created. So we have a gray area on the bottom here and also one bar of a white area here. So basically what this means is that this white area here will show up itself for every record within your contact table. So now we have a name field, we have a gender field, we have an age field within this white bar. So when we're using this, we're going to browse mode and use this database. For each record inside my database, it will show up one of these white bar with the name, the gender, and the age in here. And so basically for every records within your current table, you can show one part of this white bar. So to move a little bit further, I want to make it look like my table here. So let's see here. So in here I have a picture and the 3 name, and the bar is kind of looking thicker. So I'm gonna double click onto this. Right now it's showing 17 row maximum. So from here to here, 17 row. Maybe I want more space, so maybe 8 rows here. Click OK, and then I'm going to, and so my bar is now a little bit bigger, and so I'm just going to maybe move this a little bit more. Click onto here, and then click here, and we don't need that much space for age. And then we have a gender here, and we also have a name here. And then what we want to do is to add another photo field inside here. So I can click onto here to select a field, drag a square space here, and then select in our contact table here the photo. And there's an additional label created, but we don't really need that, so just delete that. And let's see what happens. Click on view, browse mode. You'll notice that we have very small photo icon right here. So you notice that there is also some space on the top and the left and the right. So there's some padding space here. I want to remove that. So let's go to view, layout mode, and then click onto photo. Now for this padding here is account to the appearance of this object. So I'm going to click on here, go to our right side inspector panel, click onto the 3rd tab, scroll down a little bit. This is the place to change the padding. I'm going to change all of these to 0. And click on the view, browse mode again. You'll notice that the icon is now much larger and it's much better looking. And so this is basically how you can show multiple records within your layout. And so the next step, I want to show you how you can easily find and sort data within your FileMaker database. But right now we only have like 4 records here, so it's not super easy for us to do what we want. In order to have a better environment, I want to show you how you can import additional data into the database. And to do that, let's go to our tutorial file again. Now in here I have a sample data Excel file. If I double click onto it now, a set of sample data will show up. You'll notice I have the name, the gender, the age, and also a remark. We won't be using the remark. We mostly be using name, gender, and age. And then you can see a list of male and female and also some fake data here. So I'm going to show you how you can import these Excel data into the main database. So to import, click back into your software, click File, and then Import. Import record. Select File, and then I'm going to choose the tutorial file and choose the sample database. Click Open. And we now have this dialog here. On the left side, we have the Excel file. And on the right side, we have the target, which is our contact table. And what we want to do here is to match the field inside the contact table with the field inside the Excel spreadsheet. So name, match it to name, gender, match it to gender, and age, match it to age. Now the other two fields, we don't really use it, so let's just click away the arrow key here and make sure we have the top three. The name, have the arrow, gender arrow, age arrow. So that means these data will be imported into the fields inside our database table. And also it's important to note to don't import the first record, because the first record in the Excel is the header title, so the name, gender, and age remark and all that. So we don't want that first record to be imported. And then add new record in here, click import. Just take this for now, don't worry about anything else. Click on the import, and you will notice now that we have imported 300 additional record into our database. But of course I haven't prepared some pictures for all 300, otherwise the exercise file will be too huge. So for now, let's just click on to show all. So I will have my records here along with the records that's being imported. So now that you know how to import, let's move on to the main part of this section. We're going to learn how to find and sort data within your database. So let's start with the easiest way to find data inside our database. So in here I have one of the records called TY. So let's say right now I'm showing all 304 records, and I want to search TY in here. So this top right search bar here is the quick option, the quick find option. If I click TY here and press enter, it will show me all the records that contains the word TY. So you also see another name pops up in here because his name contains TY in it. And additionally, this is kind of like a fuzzy search. So I can search male here and it also work, or if I search 58 here, it also shows. So basically every field inside your database, inside your current layout, will be searched. And if we want a more precise search, we can use the find mode. To go to find mode, go to view. You'll notice we have a find mode in here. If I click onto the find mode right now, you'll notice that all our records are gone. But they're not actually gone, it's just we are in another mode within the FileMaker database. So inside this find mode, each record represents a query. So we can type in a query, press enter to find it. So for example, in our case just now, I can type name in here, Sunny, click enter, and I will find my own record. So it's showing one record out of the 304 records I have in my database. And we can also go back to find mode to find just now, TY. Click enter, we show two records. Now sometimes you might want a more precise search. So I want to search T without searching T-bot. So how do I do that? So another way you can get onto find mode is to click this find button here. And to do a more precise search, type equal before your word, type TY, click enter. This time it will only show the records with the name that is exactly TY. So this is like a more precise way of how you can search through different data. You can also combine multiple different criteria together. For example, I can go back to find again, choose male, and then click perform find here, or click enter, and I can find all the male. Or I can also go here, click on the male, and let's do 58, click enter, find all the male that is 58 years old. Now in terms of searching number or date, usually we don't search for only one value. Usually we search for a range. So we can type in a range something like this, between 20 ... to 50 years old. Click enter, and all our record now are within that range. And if I want to search 25 or under ... 25, click enter, 25 or under. If it's over, then 25 ... then this is over. And so this is pretty easy to understand of how you can search through different range of date, and you can also combine them together. So I want to search for male between 20 to 35 years old. Oh, I typed it wrong. ... not minus. Don't do what I did. Click enter, and you will see all the males within that certain range. So the next step, for some case, you might want to find two sets of different criteria. So male that is between 20 to 30 years old, and female that is between 30 to 40 years old. So two different criteria. To do that, go back to the find mode again, and let's do the first query. Male between 20 ... 30 years old. And if you want to have a second search query, click onto here, new request, and then click female 30 ... 40. Click enter, and now they have searched both the criteria that match what I just did here. So male that is between 20 to 30, female that's between 30 to 40. So that's how you can do a multiple criteria search. Now that we know how to do some basic searching, let's learn how to sort information. So sorting is pretty simple. Just click onto the sort button here, and let's sort everyone by age. Double click onto age and move it here. And I want to sort it from the oldest to the youngest, so I can choose descending order and click sort. So if I go to the top here, it's the oldest person all the way down to the youngest person. Now I can also do a sorting by multiple criteria. So maybe I want to search by the gender first and then by the age. So I can click onto sort, click onto double click gender here. Now I want to sort by gender first. So I'm just going to click onto gender, move it up, and gender, and then by age from oldest to youngest. Click sort. So you'll see in here we have all the female first, and then we have all the male. So that's like the basic thing of how you can work with multiple records within FileMaker. Hey, hello there. I just want to interrupt for just a second. Now, I hope this video so far has been really beneficial to whatever you're trying to learn about FileMaker. And for me personally, I want to make this channel the best FileMaker channel on YouTube. So if you like my content and want to support me in this journey, just know that you can click onto the subscribe button, and that would not only will that tells you when I have a new update, it will also tell YouTube algorithm that you find this content useful and want to promote it even more. And that's basically it. Let's get back to the tutorial. So now that we cover how to work with multiple records, which is section 2, it comes to the third part, which is about the add-on table and creating another portal. So in here you'll notice we have something here to really type in additional information, and we have 4 different note records for me and only 2 records for John, and so these are done by some sort of a relationship. And let me just start by explaining a bit about what is relationship database. So let's talk about relationship and portal just a little bit. Now let's say you have a customer table and you have 1 customer record, and this customer might have done business with you a few times and have multiple different sales records. And then you might also have 2 different kind of products inside your catalog that these sales record is related to. And so the way that these things links together, and you want to make it so that when I click onto this customer, I can find exactly the sales that is related to him and also the product that is related to this sales. And so this is where relationship comes in. And when you're using a database, this is one of the most powerful feature that you can use to really organize your data and automate whatever work that you need to do. So in here, this is like a more complex kind of relationship. So in our case, we want to make something simpler. So in our portal example, we already have like a few customer records created from what we had just now. And so what I want to do is that for each customer, I want to show multiple notes within him, and I can relate these notes with the customer record. Let's get back to our database. So this customer can have multiple different notes, and when I click on another one, he has his own related notes. And to do that in FileMaker, let's go back to our testing layout here, and let's go to View, Layout Mode, and click this right panel here, close this a little bit, and we want to create another portal here. Click onto this portal icon and drag open this a little bit, all the way to the bottom maybe. And in here, we are going to choose what tables we want to show from. Last time we selected the current table, which is the contact. But this time I want to use a new add-on table. So I'm just going to click onto this. And this is one of the cool features of FileMaker 17, the latest feature, is that you can easily create a related child record for one particular table. So in our case, I want to create some notes. Click Choose. The table name, we'll name it as Notes. Click OK. And you will notice in the right side here that FileMaker has created something for us. So he created a portal with a note field and also a X button. And there's a button here that the color it's kind of blending with the background. So I'm just going to click on the white panel, change the field color to darker a little bit, and you can see that we have portal being created. And then go to View, Browse Mode, and so if I click onto, let's say, Jane right now, okay, let's show all my records. Move back to the top, click on myself, and I can start typing things here. Sunny's note number 1, click away. Sunny's note number 2, click away again. I can set up 2 notes for me, and then I can see that when I click onto Jane, these note doesn't appear. So like Jane note number 1, and then I can click onto them to see different notes. And if I want to delete a particular notes, then I can just click on this delete button, click, and then delete this, and then I'm going to quickly just add back in. And if I want to create a new record, I click onto this plus sign. It moves me directly to the most bottom portal row, which is the way to add a new record. So basically, we already have a very functional, simple database that you can choose and search from and show multiple records, and also create some very simple related notes about this particular contact. Basically, this part here, the add-on table, what it did just now is that actually FileMaker has created a new note table with the note field and some default information here. And then it also set up a relationship to connect to our contact database. So this is like a super quick way that you can create a very simple related table. But really, in the long term, it's always better that you know how to create this relationship by yourself so that you have like a full control of what you want to do with FileMaker. So that's basically it for this tutorial. But maybe you have a question right now. So like, okay, how come your table looks so much better? Well, because there's a lot more fine-tuning inside this. And I will be creating another tutorial, or maybe just a kind of like a vlog or like a screencast to show you how I'm going to turn this into into this thing here, because it does take some time, but it's probably some people don't care about the visuals, so let's not get into that inside this tutorial. So that's basically it. And if you want to see more of these tutorials and support my channel, feel free to click onto the subscribe and notification button so that you know right away when I have a new video coming up. And thanks for watching, and I hope this helps you. Have a good day and goodbye.